There it is, guys. Got the all-electric Genesis G80. So let's hop inside. I'm not gonna lie, guys. This is very nice. A nice car. But of course, that's not why we're here. We're not here to really discuss the all-electric Genesis G80. We're here to talk about student loans. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. And thank you so much for being here with me. And I love you and I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. And by the way, don't mind the light and don't mind the situation that we're in, because of course it is nighttime. I am on travel. And as you guys saw earlier, I am driving an all-electric Genesis G80, which is very nice. I'm not gonna lie, it's an awesome interior, nice car. But I will say Tesla is a little bit ahead of them, because the charging experience is much better in a Tesla than it is in, of course, this Genesis. If you're driving an electric car, the charging infrastructure is just as critical as the car itself. And as you guys transition to EVs, if you want to ever do that, of course, you'll see what I'm talking about in the future. Now, just because I'm on travel, guys, does not mean I forgot about you. And the one thing that I want to talk about today, and I've talked about this before on the channel a lot, is student loans. Now, I have my phone in front of me because I actually had an article that hit my desk, and it was very, very interesting, and I wanted to share with you guys related to student loans. Because guys, this is something that is very, very tough, and I see a lot of people struggling. I too was struggling with this very thing as well. And it's something that I really care about, and I want to help you, because I was in the mire, and boy, oh boy, was that a tough, tough time in my life. And I don't wish that on my worst enemy, to be quite honest with you. So before jumping into the article though, real quick, again, make sure you guys like the video as it helps the channel grow. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications, so that way you're notified whenever I upload new videos to the channel. And then of course, share this with a family member or friend, so that way they can learn a thing or two. And lastly, of course, guys, go ahead and check out the links in the description, as you'll always find an opportunity to be able to book time with me in case you want to talk anything about money. So guys, this article hit my desk the other day, and I'll put it up on the screen for you all to see it. And hopefully you can see it as well, given that, you know, we are hanging out in the back of the G80. So space is a little tight, but bear with me here. So it says here, and this is a CNBC article, and it's titled, 35-year-old was 29 months away from getting her $247,804 student debt forgiven. Now she's stuck. So it says here, Arbery was starting to imagine her life without student debt. Honestly, guys, being on the other side of that and having life without student loan, one of the best things in the world. If you can, please, please, please get rid of it, because geez, life is so much better without those, I like to call them rocks. They're rocks in your backpack is basically what they are. The article goes on to say, a staff attorney at an environmental conservation organization in Montana had just around 2.5 years left of payments before her $247,804 federal student loan balance would be excused under the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Now here's the thing, guys, I don't know too much about the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, to be quite honest with you, because it was something that I never really cared about. I just got rid of my student loans immediately. Memory serves me, and correct me here in the comments if I'm wrong, but the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program is a program that I believe you go on for 10 years, and you make 10 years of consecutive payments, so that would be 120 payments. And of course, you have to make sure that you do it in a public service, hence why they call it public service role. And to be honest with you guys, I don't think that that is a very good idea at all. I think it's actually pretty horrible. Let's go on and read the article, and in a little bit, I'll explain why I think that program is pretty bad in my opinion. But it says here, but for many months now, she's been frozen on her timeline to that relief. We're not getting credit, said Bertram, and I hope I pronounced the last name correctly, and she's 35. This time has been devastating. Bertram took out loans in law school knowing that she would work in public service, and there goes the public service part, and pursue PSLF. It goes on to say that that was the only way taking on this debt made any sense, Bertram said. Guys, I would say that is a horrible idea. Do not base your college choices or your degree choices, meaning what you're going to study, do not base that solely on the ability to have your loans forgiven. Really, really horrible choice in order to do that. The article goes on to say millions of other student loan holders are in the same frustrating limbo now. After Republican-led legal challenges blocked the Biden administration's new repayment plan in the summer of 2024, the borrowers who enrolled in the program, like Bertram, have found themselves stuck. You know, guys, it's very interesting because I was having conversations with folks many years ago, and I was telling them that they really should be paying off their student loans because you do not know what the future holds. And to be honest with you, to bank your entire future on 10 years of paying something consecutively and then hoping that somebody on the other end of that says, you know what, you kept up with your deal for 10 years and made 120 payments, we will keep up with our deal and make sure we forgive your student loans. And especially where the programs were never really thought out well. And when I say thought out well, there was always this misinformation. And to be honest with you, I didn't want to put myself in a position where I was hoping that somebody would stick to their end of the bargain. And I hope that you guys are seeing the repercussions of banking your future on such a horrible program, because I feel bad for this girl. She's stuck with so much in student loans and she's coming towards the end of that deal. And apparently, based off of what I'm seeing with the new administration, it looks like they're rolling back a lot of the initiatives done by the previous administration. And then on top of that, it looks like they're having folks make payments again on their student loans. And we're in a very, very difficult time right now. The article goes on to say, many of those borrowers remain in a forbearance that doesn't bring them closer to debt forgiveness, while the Trump administration recently revised other student loan repayment plans to no longer conclude in debt cancellation. Let me know in the comments below if you can imagine making 120 payments or close to 120 payments and all of a sudden that rug gets ripped up from under you. And this whole entire time, all you were doing is making minimum payments. And so oftentimes I find that when people are making minimum payments, the loans actually increase because of the interest. They're not even covering the interest. They make no principal payments, barely cover the interest, and the interest starts to compound on itself. So the article goes on to say, here's what to know about the current challenges to federal student loan forgiveness and what you can do about them. It says many federal student loan borrowers who enrolled in the Biden administration era SAVE, or Savings on a Valuable Education Plan, remains in forbearance as a result of GOP-led legal challenges to the program. But unlike the COVID-era pause on student loan bills, this forbearance does not give borrowers credit towards debt forgiveness under an income-driven repayment plan or public service loan forgiveness. And guys, here's the other thing that I would say. When it came to the student loan pause, and it was on pause for many years, I'll be honest with you, you had an opportunity. For those folks who had an opportunity to make principal payments on their student loans because their interest was paused, you guys came out ahead. There has never been a time in history where I remember that you can take out a loan and somebody pauses the interest and you can make principal payments at any given time to get rid of it. That was a huge blessing, whether folks realized it or not. And it was really in your best interest to get rid of the loans at that point. But if you didn't do that and you miss out on the opportunity, but it's just like investing, or at least what they say in investing. The best time to start was yesterday. And if you didn't start yesterday, the best time to start is today. So again, start paying off your student loans today. So the article goes on to say a recent U.S. appeals court decision blocks SAVE, as well as the loan forgiveness component under other income-driven repayment plans. Now, a little bit something about that, guys, when it comes to income-driven repayment. I remember that I was on income-driven repayments when I actually graduated from college. And I'll be honest, because I wasn't making a lot of money, my payments were low. But as I mentioned before, my payments were low, but I wasn't even touching the interest. So it was starting to compound on itself until I decided that I really needed to get rid of this disaster called student loans. Once I had taken responsibility for that and realized that no one was going to save me, that was when I started making huge principal payments, and that was what allowed me to get away from these student loans that were ruining my life at the time, to be quite honest. So it says here, historically, at least IDR plans limit borrowers' monthly payment to a share of their discretionary income and cancel any remaining debt after a certain period, typically 20 or 25 years. See, and there you go. I didn't know enough about the program apparently, because I thought it was 10 years or 120 payments. According to this, 20 to 25 years? Jesus. Hey guys, let me know in the comments if you would do this. I mean, that sounds horrendous. But it goes on to say that the Public Service Loan Forgiveness, which President George Bush signed into law in 2007, I didn't know it goes back that far, allows certain not-for-profit and government employees to have their federal student loans wiped away after 10 years of payments. Interesting. I didn't know it worked that way. So I was partially right is what it sounds like. So according to the article, it says here that you have to make 10 years of payments, but the debt is forgiven typically 20 or 25 years in. Am I reading that right? So let me get this straight. According to what I read, you have to make 10 years of consecutive payments, and then on top of that, you have to wait another 10 years in order for them to forgive the remaining student loan balance. That sounds like a prison sentence of 20 years of putting your life on hold in order to have a small amount of money forgiven. And when I say a small amount of money, guys, that's in relation to your lifetime earnings. If you actually start doing the math here, and we'll talk about it a little bit, you'll realize that this is actually a horrendous plan. Now it says here, in the end, we may see borrowers lose over a year of monthly payments to count towards forgiveness, says Elaine Rubin, Director of Corporate Communications, which helps students navigate college costs and borrowing. Newsflash, guys, you should get rid of the borrowing part. You actually can go to college without borrowing money. It's a lot harder to do than going and asking for a loan, but I will tell you it's worth it in the end. It says here, if you're eager to be back on your way to debt cancellation, you have options, experts say. And then it goes on and it talks a little bit more about what those options are. But of course, in the interest of time, guys, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this article and the way that I think about this. So I just learned, just with you guys, and especially, we read it together, 120 payments, right? 12 months a year, 10 years, and you have to make that consecutively. You can't miss once in 10 years. And trust me, a lot can happen in 10 years. And then after that, according to the article, you have to wait another 10 years in order for them to forgive the rest of the student loans. And unfortunately, that's just that's really sad. That's like a prison sentence, to be quite honest. And here's the way that I think of it, guys. Number one, if you didn't know, typically public service roles, they don't pay that much. When you go into a public role, you typically miss out on the potential for higher incomes as you would have on the private side. Not only do you miss out on all the income that comes from going to the private side because you decided to go in the public sector, but the other thing too that I've realized with this whole program is essentially you're putting your life on hold from a financial perspective for 20 years. And the sad part is it's not even a lot of money. And here's how I think about it, and follow me here. Let's say, for example, from that article, we saw there was 250,000. Now, there's a lot of calculations to go into this, so I'm not going to make it really, really complicated, but I'll make this very, very simple. Let's say you decide to go into a public service role, and it's $50,000 a year, and you can go into the private sector, and you can make $100,000 a year, so it's a $50,000 swing here. Let's say, for example, you decide to go ahead and go into that public role. It's $50,000 a year. And let's say out of the $50,000 a year, you're paying $10,000 towards your student loans. And that is per year, of course, for the $10,000. Now, after 10 years of making $10,000 payments per year, that's $100,000. Now, you still have $150,000 left. So according to what I read in the article, it sounds to me like you don't have to make any more payments. You just have to wait another 10 years in order for that to be forgiven. Now, I don't believe that to be true because that doesn't sound right to me, but let's make that assumption. So at the end of the next 10 years, essentially you would have $150,000 that is forgiven, hence your $250,000. And again, I'm oversimplifying this. Now, conversely, if you went on the private side and you made $50,000 more, what do you have in the difference in lifetime income? at the end of 20 years. Now, $50,000 over 20 years is $1 million. And by the way, you gave up the $1 million because you wanted to go ahead and go into a public role for student loan forgiveness instead of the private sector where you can make a lot more money. Think about it. You could have essentially taken the private role, made more money, and then used the $1 million in order to pay back your student loan for the entire amount. So a quarter of the difference, you could have literally gotten rid of all your student loans, the $250,000. Now, again, I'm oversimplifying because there's still taxes and there's still interest and a bunch of things to consider. But you can easily see how this is really a prison sentence, in my opinion. You're literally giving up your future and you're putting everything on hold by not extrapolating or even seeing what your earning potentials are down the road over a long period of time, such as 20 years. And most people never think about that. All they think about is, gee, I have this big number and I'd rather just go into student loan forgiveness because I'd rather have my loans forgiven, instead of realizing that they can make more money in the market and make a hell of a lot more than it is to just sit around waiting for student loan forgiveness. Now, guys, let's say, for example, I was wrong. You're not going to hit that $100,000 and you go to the private sector and you only make $70,000. And by the way, I know that's very doable because I was doing that over a decade ago. But let's say you come out of college and you go in the private sector and you only make $70,000, $20,000 more than the $50,000 that we talked about originally. So of course, if you look at the 20 years you have to wait for this whole program to actually work, that right there is 400 grand. 400 grand just by making $20,000 more over a long period of time. And remember, you always have to think about your lifetime earnings. You will quickly see that making the decision to stay in a public service job just for student loan forgiveness is actually a really horrible idea, to be quite honest, when you look at it from a financial perspective. And that's a quick little example of how you can see that. $20,000 extra over that same 20 years will give you $400,000, enough to pay your student loans, minus, of course, taxes and interest and all that other good stuff, right? We're just making the problem a little simple for everyone to see how I think. So again, guys, I think the moral of the story here is, if you can avoid student loans, avoid it like the plague. It is horrendous. Do not sign up for that stuff. And then more importantly, if you are in that public student loan forgiveness program, I would encourage you to really start taking a look at your student loans. Go ahead and make a plan in order to get rid of them, because honestly, guys, the way I'm seeing things from the new administration, they're changing a lot of the rules. And what you thought was going to happen may not happen. And unfortunately, I really hate to see people who waited so long, like this girl that I read in the article, where she literally was waiting for her loans to be forgiven, all for somebody to tell her at the end of the rainbow, that's not what you're going to have. And it's quite unfortunate that she's in those shoes. So if you learned anything from today's content, is pay off your student loans, get rid of them if you have them. And if you don't have them, make sure you don't get them. I'm telling you right now, when you get to be my age, you probably wish you never took them, for most cases. And especially most of the college programs do not have the ROI for such big student loans. All right, guys, so the car is done charging. I'm going to go ahead and unplug it and get out of here. But as always, guys, let me know in the comments what you think about today's article. And if you have student loans, tell me a little bit about your situation. Hopefully you get them paid off real soon. Also, let me know what you guys think about this public service loan forgiveness program. I'm curious about your thoughts to see if this program is even going to be a thing, or maybe they might cancel it. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. Love you all. I appreciate you all. Remember, go ahead and give me a like for the video, as it helps the channel grow. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications so that way you know when I upload new videos to the channel. And share this video with a family member or friend. And lastly, do not forget, if you want to talk and you want to have conversations around money or tech in general, links will be in the description, and also as well, I'll pin it to the comments. So go ahead and click the link, and I'll see you guys there. All right, guys, love you, appreciate you, and I'll see you all in the next one.